free world.
Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking to stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so weak. Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking to stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so. Snuff the shooter, snuff the looter, snuff the booster, snuff the money mover.
Hail to the culture. We are back and in full effect. As always, it is Bryce and Rome. We got a lot to get into, man, so we're not going to hesitate. Let's jump right into it. Everybody that's been putting out the hashtag Fire Bruce Allen, it seems like your Christmas gift may come early. There's a ton of rumors circulating right now that Bruce Allen could be fired as early as December 11th, maybe even 12th. There's a lot of thoughts and emotions, I'm sure, that goes along with that. So, Bryce, why don't you get us started, man? What are your first thoughts when you're hearing these reports about Bruce Allen potentially being fired this week?
Well, I mean, my first thought is that it's long overdue. And I think we can all agree on that Bruce Allen should have been gone a long time ago, especially if you're basing it off his record, off his performance, which all jobs are based off, man. If we go into our job tomorrow and we make critical errors and we have a terrible performance, you know what happens to us, Rome? We get fired. But Bruce Allen seems to have escaped that, most likely because he's, Dan's little crony. But, yeah, man, I hope that Christmas present does come early, bro. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be a wonderful Christmas present for all of Redskins Nation. The only thing that I'm pumping the brakes on is I've also heard rumors about the coaching process and who they're interested in. Eric Bieniemy from the Chiefs, and I believe there was a college job they were interested in, and the name is slipping my mind.
Yeah, David Shaw. David Shaw.
Yes, that was the one. And the reason that gives me reason to pause is because if they are conducting these searches and reaching out to people, who do you think is heading that up? Because I'm willing to bet it's not Daniel Snyder. I mean, there's a chance it could be. Maybe it's Doug Williams. I also doubt that. But more than likely, the person who's been doing those kind of things and still is doing those kind of things right now is probably Bruce Allen. So that alone makes me feel like he's not going to get fired within this week. But with the Redskins, you never know, man. You never know. Crazier things have happened.
Yeah, nah, you make a good point with that, man. Like, if we're looking for coaches, who's leading that search? And then, you know what it also brings me to is, if we're looking for coaches, or let's say we do get rid of Bruce Allen, Snyder does pull the trigger on that, then who do we keep? Do you keep anybody in the front office? And if so, which guys would you be willing to keep? I mean, I got a couple names. They seem to credit Kyle Smith with a lot of the recent draft picks that we've hit on. So maybe he's a guy that sticks around. Does Doug Williams stick around in the same capacity, or does he get elevated? Does he get demoted? Does he just get fired? What happens with these other guys in the front office that have become kind of a part of what we know, or at least a little bit that we know about the inner workings of the Redskins? What happens with these guys?
Yeah, that is another excellent point. And it's very hard to predict or judge what's going to happen with any of the front office guys or any of the players moving forward without getting that head coach in, that new GM in, and seeing what those guys are about and what they are going to want to do with the team. But as far as it pertains to right now, I would just pump the brakes on all these rumors about him getting fired this week. You kind of just got to let these things play out and see exactly what happens. But let's keep it pushing, because they have another hot button issue, another big thing that happened with this last game that just passed. Derrius Guice suffered a sprained MCL, which by all accounts is good news considering the knee injuries that he has had these last two seasons. But the Redskins are going to play on the side of caution and shut him down for the rest of the season. Do you think that is a good move or a bad move?
Well, I mean, considering that we're not going anywhere, I think it's a good move. If we were in the midst of, a playoff berth, or if we're even chasing a playoff position, then I could understand letting Derrius play these last couple games once his knee is up to it. But that's not the case. and let's just get this dude all the way ready for next season. Let's take good care of him this offseason, and let's make sure that the start of 2020, Derrius Guice is ready to roll.
Yeah, I agree with that completely, man. Guys, as much as I want to see him play, and anyone who's been listening to our podcast knows that I've been a big Derrius Guice supporter. I think this is definitely the right thing to do. He's got to get right, and he's got to be the lead guy for next season. And hopefully he can stay right and stay healthy, because these injuries are taking a toll. But I do want to commend him, man. Like, Derrius Guice inspires me. I don't know if you've seen his tweets recently, but he's been so upbeat despite this injury and despite all the setbacks that he has. For him to stay positive, that's very infectious. And I'm sure his teammates can feed off of that too.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Derrius Guice got that type of attitude. It's like if you had 11 Derrius Guices, you're probably in the playoffs every year. You know what I mean? Because the dude's just a stand-up type of player on and off the field. And it's crazy, man, all those reports. Remember when he was coming out, man, all those reports about him? He was this, he was supposed to be this, he was supposed to be that type of guy. And he's proven all of that wrong instantly, like we already knew. But at the same time, it's just good to see that, this guy has been on and off the field. He's been all that we expected. Now the last component will just be him staying healthy. And I truly do predict, and, this is just maybe a bold prediction. I don't know. But I really do predict that, Derrius Guice, we will see Derrius Guice next year. I predict that Derrius Guice will have, a Pro Bowl type of season. You know what I mean? Like a breakout type of year. And it won't surprise me at all. Because, see, some guys, everyone in the NFL gets injured at some point in their career. And for Derrius, I just look at it like it just happened to him early in his career instead of in the middle or instead of late, And I think he may end up being better for it.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, man. I'll double down on that Pro Bowl prediction for next season, and I'll take it a step further. Derrius Guice will lead the league in rushing for the Washington Redskins. I'm not going to put a year on it. I don't know if it'll be next season that he leads the league in rushing, but one of these years with Derrius Guice in a Washington Redskins jersey, he will be the leading rusher in all the NFL. I guarantee that.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it.
All right, man, so let's keep it moving. We all know we just lost to the Packers this past Sunday, but the game was a lot closer than expected, and a big part of that was the defense stepping up big time. The defense in recent weeks has been playing really well. You can probably point to back when they benched Josh Norman. All of a sudden the defense has turned it around big time. What are your thoughts on Manusky and how he's gotten this group to play harder with the season basically in the books?
Well, if anyone's listened to previous pods, I feel no different about Manusky. So the way I felt about him the last time or the time before or the time before, that's the same exact way I feel. Manusky is a horrible defensive coordinator. Horrible. Even against the Packers, they were saying, I'm not going to get into it too much, but there are even things in that Packer game as good as the defense played. And I'm just like, what is this dude doing? And, he finally started sending blitzes, and that's the only thing that's really changed. And it's like, about time, dude. I mean, about time. We've waited the entire season for this. Thank you for finally making it happen. But Manusky, my feelings have not changed about him at all. I mean, the guys are starting to perform, but at the end of the day, we have big-time dudes. Like, we've got Jonathan Allen, we've got Matt Ioannidis, we've got Daron Payne. These are not small. These are really good players. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, they're going to show out, despite the defensive coordinator, despite the play calling. Eventually, Landon Collins is going to make a play despite the play calling, despite the players around him not playing up to their abilities in the secondary. Eventually, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean, little bro? Like, these guys are going to make plays regardless. And I just think that Manusky really hasn't had a hand in it too much. I wouldn't really credit him with this, especially judging off his track record the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's great to see these guys finally making plays. It's great to see Ryan Anderson stepping up, swatting the ball out of Rodgers' hands. Fabian Moreau has put together a couple nice games. I was really, really impressed with the secondary, because once Dunbar went down, you got Monroe, Moreland out there. So the secondary definitely held it together, especially against Aaron Rodgers. I agree, though. I'm not going to put a ton of credit on Manusky, because if he was any good, then the defense would have been good this whole season. We wouldn't have just now been getting it turned around with everything in the books. And I think they definitely need to move on from him at the end of the season still. But I am very impressed with what the defense has been doing, especially with all the injuries that have been going on. Ryan Kerrigan's been out. You see Montez Sweat and these other guys making big plays. It's been very impressive these last few weeks.
Yeah, no doubt. And it is good to see the young guys, those young pass rushers stepping up, especially Ryan Anderson. He's had a tough road so far, so definitely good to see him step up in a major way. And I think that's one thing we got to be looking forward to right now. Not as a team, as a defense as well, but really as a team, of course. Just looking for our young guys to grow, And I've seen growth out of Ryan Anderson. I've seen growth out of Montez Sweat, and I'm happy about that. And I've seen major growth out of Quentin Dunbar, and I'm happy about that on the defensive side.
Yeah, Dunbar's another guy where I really want to see him stay healthy. I think he's made extremely great strides, as anyone who's been following this team can clearly see. And he's definitely a number one corner. But if you look at some of the games he's missed over the last few seasons, he's kind of has a little injury proneness to him. So, I just want him to stay healthy, and he could definitely be our number one corner. And I love Fabian on the outside and Moreland in the slot. But we'll probably talk about this once the offseason starts. We're probably going to end up drafting some corners, some young DBs. Probably might move on from Monte Nicholson. A lot of changes will be coming to this defense, make no mistake about it. The only names that you should get used to hearing are Collins, Allen, Payne, and Ioannidis. It'll be a lot different come next season.
Yeah. Chances are you're right, because we need that jolt of energy. Agreed.
All right, man. So let's get into our final topic of this pod, and I think this is going to be a good one, man. Let's talk about Dwayne Haskins, man. It seems to be in Redskins Nation a bit of a divide that is starting. It seems to have some of us Redskin fans on one side saying, maybe Haskins isn't it. Maybe this 15th overall pick isn't going to work out. Maybe he's not making the strides quick enough, or we're not seeing the strides that we want to see. And you have other guys that are saying, well, he got the raw end of the deal with Gruden. Gruden didn't really give him any time. This time that we're seeing him is really the first opportunity that he's had to play with ones and all that, and really be dove into the playbook and have it be about him and about what his strengths and his weaknesses. But, man, what side of the fence are you on right now, Bryce? Would you say that it's looking more like we need to draft a quarterback in the first round of 2020, or would you say Haskins will still be the guy in 2020?
I think this is the biggest problem with where we are, not just in football, but just in society. We're so used to this microwave culture. We think guys are supposed to come in and be Pro Bowlers. We think guys are supposed to come in and be, starters that can lead you to the playoffs in their first year. And that's just not realistic. It's not realistic at all. And it hasn't been the way that the best quarterbacks have been formed. They've been given time to grow into their position. And if we don't give Dwayne Haskins that time, we'd be making a grave mistake, and we'll never know what we actually had. And in my opinion, once you decide to draft that quarterback in the first round, you're tied to him for, in my opinion, minimum 3 years. And if you don't do that, you didn't just do him that quarterback an injustice, but you did yourself an injustice. Unless, of course, you take another quarterback like the Cardinals did, and that's a different scenario. But if you just get rid of your first-round quarterback, you did yourself an injustice, you did yourself a disservice because you didn't see what you had. You didn't allow him to develop. And if you truly believe in those talents, like I still believe in Dwayne's arm talent, and if we can develop that and find a guy to develop that, you never know what we'd have. So I think I'm still in the camp that I believe Dwayne Haskins will turn out to be a very good NFL quarterback.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. There is absolutely no reason to move on from Dwayne Haskins from what I've seen. I said it on the pod. I've tweeted it. I wrote about it for the website, Good Ass Sports. Look, Dwayne Haskins, what we're seeing from Dwayne Haskins is what I said we were going to see from Dwayne Haskins coming into this season, man. Like the guy did not play a lot in college. He's just now getting his feet wet in the league, and he's making strides. They're not gigantic strides. He's not throwing for 60% really. His percentage is low. He's not throwing for 300 yards, let alone even 200 yards some games. He's having very game manager Alex Smith type games. And if you look at the Alex Smith in the early part of his career, those were the games that Alex Smith had. And he's had a long, successful career. However, people feel about Alex Smith or not. He's had longevity. One thing Dwayne Haskins has that Alex Smith does not have is a rocket for an arm. So if Haskins can get under his belt, the play calling, all the little tiny things that you need to have mastered, and I mean mastered. He needs to know the plays like the back of his hand. He needs to be able to wake up at 2 a.m. and call a play in the huddle at that time. You know what I mean? Like he's got to be that into the playbook and have it that mastered, and that takes time. I don't care who you are. Look at Patrick Mahomes, and I know people are going to lose their mind. I'm comparing Patrick Mahomes and Dwayne Haskins. Mahomes set for an entire season. He played one game his rookie season. You don't think that time to learn and grow and dive into the playbook and get used to calling plays in the huddle and doing all that at practice, you don't think that gave him the confidence to go out there and throw 50 touchdowns and be the MVP his sophomore season? That is the kind of thing that we're going to see from Dwayne Haskins. That's the kind of time that you have to give him. I love that you use the microwave culture reference. A lot of these fans that I'm hearing and seeing on Twitter and talking to in real life, y'all want a hot pocket. Y'all, that's what y'all want Dwayne Haskins to be. Y'all want him to be a 2-minute hot pocket where you just stick him in and then you pray that he's not cold in the middle still because the microwave didn't even work right. He's not a hot pocket, my friends. This man is a gourmet meal. You gotta let this marinate. You gotta take your time. You gotta let the oven preheat. Right now we're just in the oven preheating stage. That's all that we're seeing from Haskins right now is the oven preheating. Y'all gotta be patient. And I think he said this in an interview in a press conference a while ago. Maybe it was after his first start or after one of his first losses. It was don't jump on the band. I'm paraphrasing, but it was basically don't jump on the bandwagon later. Don't be a fan later if you're being a hater now, because this will get turned around, and Haskins will be one of the top QBs in this league.
Yeah, I mean, I still believe that Haskins will be up in the top of the league when it comes to quarterbacking. The kid just has too much arm talent, and despite what a lot of people think, he's shown me that in his time this season. Now, there's other things that he still needs to show, but like I said, and I think you just iterated that perfect, man. This dude is a gourmet meal. Like, if you want a hot pocket, you can go ahead and be hype about Drew Lock throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. But what is his career about to look like, Like, what is Gardner Minshew's career about to look like, These guys that people are so pressed and so quick to compare Haskins to. Like, if we do Haskins right, this first year is not going to matter. You feel me? Like, Peyton Manning threw more interceptions and touchdowns his first year. But you know what? Peyton Manning's first year, it didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. And honestly, Peyton Manning's first 3 or 4 years didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Because you know why? They let him cook. They let him marinate. They let him get right. And that's the same thing we got to do with Haskins.
Yeah, man. This is a crock pot, ladies and gentlemen. This ain't the microwave, man. This is a process. Y'all gotta let it work out, man.
Yeah, facts.
All right, so who do we got this weekend, man? The last 3 games of the season are all divisional. It's looking like we got Philly, New York, and Dallas left. We're currently 3-10. Bryce, how do you see the season ending, man? You think we're going to be 3-13, 6-10? What's your final record for this 2019?
Well, I do believe that 3-13 would be Would that be the second worst? Or no, that would tie for the worst record under Dan Snyder, right?
I think so. We didn't, or yeah, we were 3-13 with that second year with RG, I believe.
Yeah, no, I think that might have been 4-12. I don't know. Whatever it was, though, man, 3-13 is awful.
Yeah.
Either way, like we're talking about, do you like do you like bad or worse, pretty much. So, I mean, 3-13 is horrible. 4-12, I won't feel any better about. And at this point, I guess I can see us beating the Giants if Eli's still playing at that point. The Cowboys, I don't see us winning that. The Eagles, I don't see us winning that. Although they looked really bad against the Giants, so you never know. But I could see us maybe winning one of those games just off of, how the Redskins go, man. We tend to win games we're not supposed to every once in a while. So I could see us stealing one of those games. So I'll say we'll probably finish 4-12.
Well, as I've been alluding to for a while, I got this bet going on. So I'm hoping we pull off at least one upset of the Eagles or Dallas. And as much as I would love for Dwayne Haskins' first start against Dallas to be a W, I think it's more likely that we get that upset this Sunday against the Eagles. But if I have to keep it real, I'm probably going to have to ask my man Akeem, the Philly fan, how he wants his payment. Does he want 20s or 50s? Because we probably will not get to 5 wins this season. If I had to be locked in, I'd say it's looking like a 4-12 season. I'm definitely taking us over the Giants. That would be very disappointing. But if we lost that game, but it would be nice, man, if we could upset the Eagles or the Cowboys, man. That would be a good boost for this team going into the next season. And, I mean, hell, if we find a way to win out against all of our division teams, as bad as the NFC East is looking this year, and if we win out against the NFC East these last 3 games, I'd be willing to say that makes us the favorites heading into 2020.
In a weird way, it just might. It's been a horrible year for the division, man. Hey, one more thing I want to ask you about, bro, before we wrap it up, man. Talking about being the favorites in 2020 and looking ahead to the next season. What coaching candidates would you be interested in the Redskins going after, man? Like, who's on your top list right now? We'll probably get into this later in some other episodes later, but right now, man, who's on your list?
Well, first of all, I'm very glad you asked that because I've been working on a Redskin coaching search list for a month or two now. I'm actually going to have an article up for the website here once the season is over. But just to name a couple guys on my list, Eric Bieniemy is currently at the top. I like the name Byron Leftwich. He's out there. They might not go with defensive candidates, but Marvin Lewis is a name that pops up. Greg Williams has a relationship with this organization. But I would say Eric Bieniemy is probably, if you're asking me today, Eric Bieniemy is probably the most likely candidate at this moment.
Bro, if we get Eric Bieniemy, I'll be hyped for that. He's had some quotes that are really, really forward-thinking when it comes to offensive football. And I would be hyped for Eric Bieniemy, bro. And to me, that's a dude that I feel like could come in and work with Haskins day one, really get Haskins right. We could be looking at a Jared Goff type of situations when Sean McVay came and turned his whole career around. Everyone thought Jared Goff was a bust until his second season. Now his first year doesn't even matter. It's crazy. But Eric Bieniemy could be that for Dwayne Haskins, man. I would love that. Would love that hire. So last one,
well,
kind of a. Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry to cut you off, but if I'm Dan Snyder, or if I have anything to do with the Redskins and who they're picking, I'm thinking, okay, we got Alex Smith, who actually we were talking about candidates for the front office. That might be a name. We'll definitely talk about that. Alex Smith could be a candidate for the front office. But let's say you got Alex Smith who's in Dwayne's ear, right? Why would you not bring in Eric Bieniemy? Who was in Pat Mahomes' ear? Alex Smith, Eric Bieniemy. Why would you not bring in these guys that have made the hottest young quarterback, the cover Madden, the reigning MVP currently, Pat Mahomes, these two guys that were probably the closest to him in his offensive room? Why would you not try to make that the same for Dwayne? To me, it's a no-brainer. To me, it is a no-brainer. You bring in Eric Bieniemy, make him the head coach, maybe keep KOC as your offensive coordinator, and then you still got Alex around. It's a no-brainer. But like we all know, it's going to determine the front office, how much power Dan lets the coach have, who's going to be the GM. There's so much that goes into that that makes it very difficult to narrow down a coaching search.
Yeah, you're right about that. But I definitely put my chips in the Eric Bieniemy basket. So it's kind of a two-part question, man. You started to get into it a little bit. But who would be your top choice for front office, man? If we were to get rid of Bruce Allen, who would you want to come in here and be the GM?
Louis Riddick. I mean, like in a dream world, Louis Riddick comes back to DC and he's our GM. I think not just myself, but a lot of fans would love that. It's probably very unlikely to happen, but that would be my personal pick.
Yeah, I feel that. I wouldn't be opposed to Louis Riddick, and if it wasn't Riddick, I would have to go with Kyle Smith, keep it in house. I think he's done a great job, man. Like when you look at the draft picks, he's been kind of credited with, and like you talking about guys like Cole Holcomb, Jimmy Moreland, Deron Payne. These last two drafts have all kind of been credited to Kyle Smith. I like that. I like the way he drafts, and I feel like the number one thing, in my opinion, above everything else I want out of my football GM, I want a guy that can draft. And I know that might not really be the main thing, but like even before a guy that sets culture, like I want a guy that can draft because the players set culture. So give me a guy that can bring in the right players with the right attitudes, and I'm all for it. So it's going to be a couple of interesting searches, man. We're going to be looking for a coach and likely a GM too. So it's gonna heat up, man.
Yeah, man. You guys got to stay tuned. We'll definitely keep you updated here at Held to the Culture. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. And, yeah, man, we'll definitely keep you guys updated. A lot of big news is coming soon with this Bruce Allen thing, this coaching search. And we still got 3 games remaining, man. Held to the Redskins, held to the culture.
Held to the culture.
Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so weak. My hitters be moving and shaking to stay out the street. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so. Snuff the shooter, snuff the looter, snuff the booster, snuff the money mover. Snuff the hater, snuff the player, snuff your hairline, tape up and shape up. Snuff the shooter, snuff the looter, snuff the booster, snuff the